Hello and welcome to the Bears and Lions podcast. This is the podcast where we challenge our present by viewing our past. I'm a firm believer that our greatest future lies within the correct view of our past, because when you actually look at it, you're going to see that there's a lot of things that probably can inspire you to move into your future. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. I break down some things about inspiration and the 3 steps of inspiration. And I hope that by the end of this conversation, you will be inspired to go and do something awesome in your life. I cannot wait for this conversation, and I'll see you on the other side. Inspiration, or to be inspired, right? In the social media world, we see it all the time, right? Hashtag inspiration, hashtag motivation. I'm guilty of it. I do it as well. But in the process of doing it over and over and over and putting it in all my posts, I started thinking about inspiration. How does this work? Why is one inspiring in the first place? What does inspiration look like? Is it the same in my life as it would be for somebody else's? Is this podcast inspiring to you? Or is it motivating to you? And how so? How can I make this podcast more inspiring to you so that those of you that are listening get the most out of it that's possible? Right? And I started digging into a couple different studies, but one specific study I looked into was that inspiration was not just one thing, but it was a collective of 3 things. And in order to understand inspiration, they broke it down into 3 separate things in the study. And I actually really like that. So in today's conversation, I'm going to break down the 3 ways that inspiration works, the 3 steps of inspiration, if you would. First step is evocation. So one is inspired by stimulation, essentially, right? An object or a person or a song, right? That's the moment where you hear that one song and then you're evoked, you're inspired by that song to work out. Maybe it's a great workout song. Or maybe you see something, a piece of art, and you are inspired to view life in color or view life in a different way. Or maybe you meet that special person, right? And then you're inspired to live at a higher value because now you have somebody in your life that you want to reach a different level, right? You want to live up to your potential rather than living down, because now you have a reason to push towards a new potential. So you want to try something new. So evocation is when you're evoked, you're encouraged, you are inspired. It's that first process of being inspired is, okay, I need to change, right? We're evoked to do something new. Inspiration often has us wanting to do something new in our lives, or maybe doing something brand new that we've done before, but we try it anew, if you would. I think of food. Food, we often are evoked in an experience, right? When you have a memory of like a beautiful barbecue and the memory of that barbecue and the people maybe playing cornhole or just the company that you're with, a bonfire or something like that, and having drinks with friends, and you just think back, oh, that barbecue was so good. And then you see a commercial for barbecue, and then it evokes you to think about that memory, and you're just like, wow, I could really go for some barbecue right now. And because you're evoked, you're inspired, you're encouraged by it, right? You want to go do that. You may have done it before, but you want to try it anew, right? You want to do it in the future. You want to step into your future and have that barbecue. I think of char-grilled oysters are one of like the key thought that I think of foods that have evoked inspiration in my life, is because I don't eat them all the time. In fact, I haven't had them in years. But there was a place that I had them in Louisiana. When I lived in Louisiana, right outside of Baton Rouge, there was a place called Chimes. There was a place in Baton Rouge and then in Covington, Louisiana, a restaurant called Chimes. And if you've ever been there, kudos to you, because they are incredible. But I loved, they had a blonde a beer, and then they had char-grilled oysters, which were just heavenly. And I never was a fan of oysters until that place. So anytime I ever see anybody talk about oysters, or they're like, ooh, oysters or char-grilled oysters, I'm evoked. I have evocation where I'm evoked to think back to that moment of eating those char-grilled oysters with the company that I was with, the friends that I was with, and the conversations that I had while enjoying that with the little crostinis and the lemon slices. And it was just, it really does evoke that stimulus. It's a stimuli that just encourages me to immediately want to go try it anew. Now, I break down that first process and evocation is because in our lives, we're going to have different things that evoke process out of us. It might evoke fear. It might evoke boldness. It might evoke or encourage us to try something new in a bold way, right? And I think of if you've ever been embarrassed, right? Then if that comes up again, you may be evoked to shy away and stick to the shadows, right? If you had a moment that was maybe not the best and you got drunk and you threw up in front of friends or whatever, and then, you're with your friends again and they say, "Oh, Kyle, you better lay off. It's not going to end well for you." That might evoke and stimulate you to maybe not drink as much and stick to the shadows because you're embarrassed. Now, there may be other times when you hit the game-winning shot in a pickup game of basketball and the boys go crazy or the girls go crazy. They're like, "Yeah, that was awesome. That was incredible." And then you're playing basketball again and they're like, "Pass the ball to Kyle. He's clutch. Kyle's clutch." Or insert you in that situation. You're clutch. Oh, that might evoke you to say, "I am clutch. I can do this. I'm going to do this," right? It's the inspiration. It's that moment of inspiration. And I absolutely love that. And it's a mentality that I really want to encourage you all. When you're thinking of inspiration, I want you to ask this question. What evokes you or encourages you to try something new? And if you think about that specifically, how does it evoke you to do something? How are you just encouraged to go through and say, I want to try this? Is it a dance class? Is it a workout? Is it a new diet? Is it a new trend, new clothes? What is it about it that you're like, I think I want to try that. I think that would be really cool. I think a lot of people think this way when it comes to like Hot Ones, right? Hot Ones is this incredible show where they ask really difficult questions, hot questions for hot wings, right? And with Sean Evans, it's an incredible show. So you definitely should watch Hot Ones. But if you've ever seen it, I think a lot of people watch Hot Ones and they're like, "I want to try the hot sauce." I can tell you from personal experience, I've ordered and had some of those like 5, 6, 7 hot sauces. Some of them were really good, others really bad, and I don't ever need to try those again. But I was evoked to try them, right? I saw it and I was inspired to try it. And so I want to leave you with that question of that first part is evocation and inspiration. When you're thinking about inspiration, are you evoking people? Or are you bringing evocation? Are you inspiring others or stimulating others? Are you a person that encourages others to try something new? Or are you evoking people to shy away or to live less than what they're capable of? Are you somebody that is pouring into them to reach their best and greatest potential? That's what I hope this podcast will be, is I hope that each of these conversations, I get better and better and better at inspiring you and stimulating you to go out into your life and take ownership, to move through your present with confidence because you see these things in your past that have encouraged you and you've overcome, and they give you confidence to say, "I can do this right now." And then they also give you confidence to step into the future and say, "You know what? I've faced some bears and lions. What are the giants? What are the giants that I need to slay in my life?" And be prepared for them. The second thing about inspiration is transcendence. And when I say transcendence, I think a lot of people might say, what in the world? Like, are you talking about like an ethereal, like heavenly thing? In a way, yes. When one transcends, it means they move above, right? So transcendence is that second process of inspiration. So after you see the commercial with the food, the barbecue, right? We used that as an analogy earlier. So when you see the commercial with the barbecue, you start saying, oh, I want barbecue again. Now comes the natural life concerns and anxiety of, well, I don't have the money to afford it. And then you say, I'm on a diet. And then there's different things around it where I'm like, what could take place? Or I'm not in that environment, or I'm not friends with this person anymore. So I can't really relive that memory of that barbecue, even though that it was so good. And you become ultimately aware of your surroundings of, is it even realistic to get barbecue? It's 10 o'clock at night. There's no restaurants open, right? That is to be aware. And there's this area of being aware. And I think a lot of people want the inspiration, but they don't want the transcendence. They want the inspiration to immediately kick into the next step, which we'll talk about in a minute in motivation. But they want inspiration done. They want, I'm inspired to eat barbecue. I have barbecue. And that's honestly something that like DoorDash and Uber Eats has given us, is the ability to immediately want food. We can get whatever food we want pretty much at any time, which is really wild to think about, because there's no factor of doing hard things or training your self-control. And so you lose a reference of that self-control. So I think transcendence is really important, is to be aware of your surroundings. Is that realistic? If I'm watching the Olympics and I see an incredible swimmer like Michael Phelps, and I'm inspired, I want to go swimming. I want to be a swimmer. I want to be an Olympic athlete. I want to be an Olympic swimmer. Well, the awareness, that might be the evocation. I'm evoked to try something new. I'm evoked to be a swimmer. The transcendence part is, I need to be aware of the fact that we're in the middle of winter. I don't have a membership to a gym with a pool. It would be kind of hard for me to access a pool. I'm in my 30s. So that's going to be really difficult, because these people have put in 10, 15, 20, 30 or more years of training to be a swimmer. So maybe realistically, I am inspired to work out a little bit more. Maybe that's it. What's the actual, when you transcend, you start going above your concerns and the anxiety of what's taking effect on you. So if I'm evoked, what am I evoked to? And the transcendence helps us weed out or filter out some of the process where we may say, you know what, maybe I'm just inspired by that, and I need to try a little bit harder in my job, because this is their job. Look at the effort they're putting in their job. Maybe that's what's inspiring. And in order for me to be a little bit more inspiring, I need to be aware of my surroundings and be aware of how I can really try a little bit harder. Or maybe I put in a little bit more effort. Or maybe I just start going to the gym because I want to look a little bit like that. And you know what? I may not swim or be an Olympic athlete, but if I put in some work and if I start going to the gym, I can at least start looking closer to that. Swimmers are in like the best physique ever, but you can actually get a pretty good physique if you go and work out on a consistent basis. So that might be the transcendence part. And what I do believe is that transcendence is so important because it's going to bring wisdom into that inspiration, where you're going to actually be able to recognize in somebody else's life, they're being stimulated by this. And they need to come to that point of where they transcend over the concern. Have you ever met somebody who's so concerned? I don't think I can do this. I don't think I know I want to be a singer. I know I want to go on American Idol, but I don't think I can do it. And you can be a person who says, yeah, but you are talented. Is it realistic? Is it something that we can get you to? Are you singing currently? Yeah, you're singing currently. Are you doing open mic nights? Yeah, really? Okay, so it sounds like you actually can do this. And this is the inspiration, that second form of inspiration, that second part, where it's help them transcend over their concerns and anxiety. Because maybe they are completely capable of doing it and they need somebody to remind them, no, you actually have prepared for this and you are far more prepared than you could ever imagine. And your transcendence, you need to take that inspiration and transcend over those concerns and anxiety and just go do it. The last piece is motivation. Last piece of inspiration is motivation. And this is where one actualizes and expresses that new thing. It is the going and doing. There are not a lot of conversations or great stories that start with, I was thinking about doing this thing. No, if it starts that way, it always leans into, and then I went and did, right? Hey, I was thinking about this, and so I did it. The motivation part happens when you actually start actualizing and put that into motion. So I want you to think motivation equals movement. Motivation equals movement. I want you to write it down, put it in your brain, and always think motivation equals movement, because it's taking that inspiration, transcending above the anxiety, and putting action to it, becoming active and acting upon that inspiration. And I think a lot of people, they want inspiration and they want motivation, but what happens is they get lost in the transcendence at some point in time where the anxiety takes over and they never actually get to that motivation. And then they look to other people and other things to say, hey, motivate me. I need some motivation in my life. But that's not what actually is going to get you going, because motivation is once you've already started. What they're looking for is inspiration. The discipline that you set in motion will allow you to be inspired by something and have the discipline to put it into movement, to put it into motion. And that's the motivation portion of it. And that's overwhelmingly what I want to do with this podcast. And I hope that I can inspire you to evoke a stimulation of there's something new out there that you are striving for. Every single one of us on this earth, we are striving for something. And I want to evoke you to go and do. I want to encourage you, try something new. Try something that you used to do and do it new. Do it in your future. Do it in your present, right? If you used to work out when you were in high school and you had a great body, don't tell me about that. I want to inspire you to get back and, okay, so what were you doing? I was dieting and exercising. Okay, how can we do that now? And then the transcendence part. I want to challenge the transcendence parts of your concerns and your anxieties. And I want to make sure that you transcend over it. You become very aware of your surroundings and what you're actually capable of. Oh, well, I used to put in like an hour at the gym and it was great. Okay, what about your time and your schedule right now is causing you to not put an hour? Do you have 30 minutes that you can put into it? Well, yeah, I've got 30 minutes. Okay, excellent. Now we can work because you're transcending over your excuses or concerns or anxiety of the current situation. And lastly, motivation. I hope that when I inspire and communicate through this podcast, I hope that you are motivated to say, I'm putting movement to this. I am able to overcome and transcend above those concerns and anxiety, and then I'm going to put some motivation behind it and movement behind it, and I'm going to go and do it and become active upon my dreams. I'm going to become active upon what I want to do. That is going to do it for this conversation. I love you guys, that every single one of you that listen. I am so thankful for it. You guys are incredible. I've had such a joy this year in kind of going through these conversations and formulating these conversations, and some of the studies have just been really encouraging. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, thank you so much. If you want to find me on my socials, you can follow me on TikTok or X, which is formerly known as Twitter, at Kyle Vaught. That's KYLEV as a Victor ATT. And on Threads and Instagram, it's Kyle_Vaught. Y'all are incredible. Have a wonderful week. I can't wait to talk to you again on Thursday. Remember to give grace, show love, and as always, stay stellar. Peace.